The 2024-25 Premier League season is here. In this video, we give our full tale predictions for the campaign, as well as a few bonus awards at the end of the video. I'm sure you disagree with many of our predictions, so let us know yours in the comments below. This is our 2024-25 Premier League predictions. Alright, it is that time of the year then. Time for our Premier League predictions. We're a couple of days away from the Premier League season. Harry, the excitement is palpable, isn't it?
Absolutely incredible. Only 2 days away from the Friday night that will get us underway for the Premier League season. It has come round so quickly. Cannot wait. You know when you start doing tale predictions that it is that close. Going to be a good season, hopefully. Some teams it could be a bad season, so let's find out.
Yes, very true. Well, let's start at the bottom of the table then. That's the only way that makes any sense to do so. So we'll start at the bottom, and I want you to tell me who's finishing 20th this season.
Now, I am very sorry, Foxes fans, but I've gone Leicester City to finish bottom. I just think with a potential pending points deduction, I think that already puts them on the back foot, and then the performances don't come after that. You know, I mean, obviously we have seen in terms of Everton, the motivation is there, but I just think new manager, you know, going to be starting on a loss of points. It's going to be hard to find the wins. The points aren't going to come for Leicester. They're going straight back down.
Yeah, I don't think they'll be bottom though. I think that, yeah, I've factored in the points deduction as well, because I think that's going to be very difficult to bounce back from. But I think there are teams in the league worse than them. So 20th, I've put Southampton. I just don't see where the goals come for Southampton this season. We previewed them a few weeks ago. I don't see where they come from unless Ben Brereton Diaz has a huge season or Adam Armstrong adapts really well. I don't really see where the goals come. So, yeah, I think they're going to struggle in that regard. I think they'll be bottom of the league. And I also think Russell Martin's football will get dominated in this division. If he doesn't show an ability to step up to the Premier League level, they will get rolled over.
And, I mean, I agree with that. And that is why, for 19th, I have gone for Southampton. I think you're spot on there. The goals are going to be hard to come by. Russell Martin, you know, it's very similar to what we saw with Vincent Kompany. His football could get blown out of the water if he doesn't adapt. And it could be a tough season for Southampton. The reason I put them above Leicester is because if they do have a 7-point lead on them before we even get underway, then I think they won't let that slip over the season. But they're going down.
It would be impressive if they managed to.
It would be very
I think they will, to be fair. But I think that'll be more Leicester coming together and pushing themselves up the table. 19th, I've gone for Nottingham Forest, and I know there'll be a lot of Forest fans watching this very annoyed, because when we did our preview, a lot of people commenting saying we're going to push up into mid-table and all that. My issue is I think every fan thinks that in the bottom lot. Every preview we've done, all the teams think they're going to push up the table. Their team's going to be the one. I don't think it's going to happen for Forest fans. I think for the last few seasons they've looked very close to being relegated. I think this season will be the year when the quality coming up from the Championship is slightly better than it was last year. I think it's going to be very difficult for Nottingham Forest to survive this season. And so, yeah, I don't think they can rely as heavily as they do on Callum Hudson-Odoi cutting in and scoring screamers, on Chris Wood putting up 10 goals a season or whatever it was. Yes, Morgan Gibbs-White's a brilliant player. I just don't think there's enough around him at the moment. I think they've got some really nice players, but ultimately, I think they'll go down. The quality in the Premier League is so high, I think they'll go down this season.
Fair enough.
18th then, are you, because you've got two promoted sides in there, are you going to go for another season where all three go back down?
I am, yeah. I know it's boring, but I've put Ipswich Town in 18th place. I just realistically, I look at the three promoted sides. I don't think they've got the quality to really mount it, to stay in the Premier League. I think Ipswich, however, I've put them 18th because I think out of the three teams, you know, they've got they've got quite a large investment. They've made the best signings for me. I think they'll give it a very good go. It'll be very, very close between them and the other teams around them. You know, I think we're talking final day drama once again, but I think they'll give it a really good go. I think McKenna plays good football. His football is probably the best suited to the Premier League out of the three. Well, I guess Steve Cooper, but that's a bit, you know, just everyone sit back and defend. But yeah, I think McKenna will get it right. I think Ipswich have invested well. I just don't think there's going to be enough there.
Yeah, fair enough. I'm denied about keeping Ipswich up, putting them down. Ultimately 18th though. I've gone for Leicester City.
Wow.
I think that they will fight hard despite that point deduction, but it won't quite be enough, and they will be relegated in 18th place. I think it will come down to those final game. I think it may well come down to the final game week. I think we could see a couple teams in that conversation. So, bit of final day drama. I think Leicester will be relegated. But a lot of people will be giving Steve Cooper plaudits because he would have done such a good job to put them in that position despite the points deduction. So
definitely.
I think it'll be really tight, but yeah, Leicester City 18th.
17th then, yeah, I mean, I've gone Nottingham Forest. And again, as you say, Forest fans, they want to be pushing out the table. I just don't see it materialising like that. and I think it'll be another season where Forest are massive beneficiaries of the fact that the 3 promoted sides aren't of the quality to stay in the Premier League. Very similar to last year. If the promoted sides have been a little bit better, have brought a little bit more quality, Forest would have been in big trouble. I think they're going to be in trouble again. But again, final day, they're going to save themselves. They're going to stay in the Premier League. Nuno's going to be a very lucky man. Forest fans, you're staying up, but by the skin of your teeth.
Yeah, it definitely feels like that bottom 4 is almost nailed. It feels like everyone's predicting the same bottom 4, unless you think that like Brentford or Fulham are going to have a huge drop-off or something like that. It definitely feels like that same bottom 4 are there in 17th. I have gone Ipswich Town, but I think Ipswich fans would be elated with that. I think they would be, because they're in the Premier League for another season, and that's huge for them. So I think this would be a fantastic season from Ipswich. I just think, looking at the way that McKenna plays, looking at the way Ipswich play, it's very transitional, it's very counter-attacking. And so if they can shore up that defence and be defensively sound and then look to break quickly, they could hurt a few teams. And I think Liverpool, opening day, I wouldn't be surprised if that's a big shock result.
Ooh,
because I think Liverpool will take time to adapt to Arne Slot's system, and I could see Ipswich getting something from that. I think they'll have games like that this season where they will go on up against big sides and shock a few teams. If they can stay defensively solid, they've got to be like Luton last season. The key difference to me is I think Ipswich are a better attacking outfit than Luton ever were. Even in the Championship, you look at the goals that Ipswich scored, and it wasn't spamming crosses into the box like Luton did.
Yeah.
But ultimately, that worked for sometimes, but it's not something we see in the Premier League because it doesn't work that often. For Ipswich, they do know how to attack. I think if they can counter-attack teams, they could score goals this season. Yeah. They could get results. So, I'm going to put them 17th, and I think they're going to stay up, which would be huge. I hate doing it because I don't like Ipswich Town, but fair play, I think they will stay up. 16th then, Harry. Who have you gone for?
I have gone for Brentford. Now, this is going to be a bit of a weird one because obviously Ivan Toney is back, and you would think, they're going to forget what happened last season, they're going to push up the table. But for me, Ivan Toney isn't going to be enough. He is a very good player, he's a very good striker, but I don't think they can get away with relying on his attacking outputs once again. I think that's going to be shown. I'm sorry, Brentford fans, but I have a funny feeling that they are going to get drawn into a relegation fight, and it will be Tony's. They will rely on Tony's goals, but not to keep them in the top 10, to keep them in the Premier League. And my other concern is they are down there at the bottom. In January, we could see Tony leave, and that would be a big thing. So either way, I think Brentford in trouble. 16th is not where they want to be realistically, but they're still in the league. But I don't think they'll have a good season.
Yeah, I follow a similar line of thinking. I put Brentford 16th, so at first jinx of the video, but I was tempted to put them down. I really was, because Tony's being linked with moves away. We know there's still interest from Arsenal. Yeah. I think if Chelsea fail in their pursuit of Osman, they may turn their attention towards Tony, because I think he's more doable than their other targets like Isak and Watkins. I think it's much more possible they go and get Tony. So I wouldn't be surprised if he still does leave this summer. If he does, I look at the options they've got of Iger Thiago, of Johan Visser, and I don't think that's enough. So I think there's a definite possibility that they get dragged into that relegation fight, especially if Forest are going to push forwards this season. I don't think they will. If they were to push forwards this season and Brentford slipped off, they could be in the relegation zone. However, I think Tony will stay now, so I'm going to put them 16th. I think he'll score enough to keep them up. But it'll be another season where they sort of rely on the quality below, or the teams below, not really being of a high quality. But I think it's been really interesting to see what Brentford do this season, whether they can bounce back, because last season was quite mediocre. They'll be hoping this will be better. Yeah,
very much so. 15th then, I have gone for Fulham. I think it's going to be a very interesting year at Fulham. I think they've made some good additions. I think they're a victim of circumstance here. At 15th, I don't think they're going to be in the relegation fight. I think they've got a good enough side to avoid that. I think what their problem is going to be is that they are just struggling to break into the high. Like, for me, 13th to 15th realistically could be in any order, and I've just put them in this order just because of what I thought at the time. But for me, I think Fulham, they could do much better than 15th. 15th feels very low. I think they're going to be victim of circumstance, because that top 12 is so hard to break into. They're going to be in their own little mini battle with 3 or 4 teams here in the mid-pack, where 15th looks like a terrible season, but if you flip that round and they're in 12th, 13th, suddenly it looks like a really solid season. So 15th for Fulham isn't a reflection on me thinking they're not very good. I just think out of the teams in this conversation, in this kind of lower half of the table, I think there'll be a couple points separating. They'll be on the wrong side of it.
Yeah, fair enough. 15th, it's another jinx because I've also gone for Fulham. I think, again, if you think ESR, Smith Rowe's going to come in at Fulham and be incredible, then you could probably put them up a few places. But I think he'll be okay. I think that Muniz will again have those like purple patches where there's a month where he scores in every game and then a month or two where he can't seem to find the back of the net. I think that, they can't really rely on that sort of consistency. I don't think you can be a Premier League side that loses your best centre-half and your key defensive midfielder, which they still haven't replaced João Palhinha, by the way.
Yeah.
And they're still trying to sign Joaquim Anderson from Palace. They bid £20 million if that was going to work. So, I don't know. I feel like there's still a lot for Fulham to do. I think they'll have a slow start to the season because they've still not signed a DM. They've still not really signed a replacement for Tosin Adarabioyo. So, I think they're in a really tough spot at the moment. I think they'll come good towards the end of the season, but they will start slow and pick it up towards the end. But it's going to be interesting. I think 15th seems to work for them as the reason we both predicted it.
Yeah, exactly.
14th then, what have you predicted?
14th, I have gone Everton. I think it's going to be a much positive season at Goodison Park for the Toffees fans. Obviously, there was a plagued last year by points deductions and things, and we know if you give them those points back, they would have been in a very nice position. Again, similar to Fulham, I think they'll have a good season. They're again in this battle between the sides in the lower half of the table, which could all be the other way around for me. Again, they'll be on the wrong side of the points, but overall, a better season for Everton. Finally, last 2 years, kind of been involved in the dogfight down at the bottom. This will be the first year where I think they're going to be comfortably clear of that.
Yeah, fair enough. 14th, you've gone Everton. 14th, I've gone Wolves. I think those two are fairly close at the moment. I don't think Wolves... I think Wolves will be quite good defensively this season. They're switching to a full-back. It'll be interesting to see how they handle that transition. I don't know about Wolves. I still don't think they've sorted that striker position. If they play Cunha there and he performs, then maybe that's solved. I do like Hwang a lot. I do like Cunha a lot. But I don't know, there's just areas of their team I'm not a huge fan of. I don't think they've replaced Neto yet. They didn't really replace Kilman, to be fair, so maybe their defence will be shaky. I'm just not sure on Wolves. I think they'll do okay. I could see them behind Fulham if Fulham perform really well. But I think Wolves will just sit in there. I think they're... Gary Neville's done a really good job there. And I think they'll play well again. But it'll be interesting to see where they end up.
13th, I have gone for Wolves. Now, last season's table predictions, I put Wolves 18th. And Gary O'Neill and Wolverhampton Wanderers showed me up for that, so I'm not going to make the same mistake this year.
To be fair, I think I also put them in the relegation zone, but only because they'd lost Julian Lopetegui a week before.
That is true.
I don't think anyone predicted that Gary O'Neill would do as well as he did.
But Gary O'Neill is a very good manager. Wolves are a decent side, as you say. I think they're going to be very strong at the back if they can work out the full-back very quickly. Even if that doesn't work, I think they'll revert back to the three-back and they'll go back to playing good football.
And sign a centre-half in January.
So 13th for Wolves, again, involved in this mini fight between the lower side. I'm expecting a decent campaign for Wolves.
Yeah, fair enough. 13th, I've gone Everton. Again, these same sort of sides popping up. I think Everton are slightly better than Wolves at the moment. If Calvert-Lewin can actually score some goals, they'll be in a really strong position. But I don't think he will. That's why I've got them 13th and not any higher. I think they're probably one of the strongest defences in the league with Branthwaite and Jake O'Brien now. That's really strong. And I think they'll do well again. And Jordan Pickford, it's a really nice defence. I think they'll keep a lot of clean sheets this season. I just think there'll be a lot of 0-0 draws. But if they can start turning those into 1-0 wins throughout the campaign, I think they can pick up a few points. However, I still don't think they've got a whole lot of firepower in attack. I still think they're going to miss a lot of big opportunities and rely a bit too heavily on corner goals, so I think they'll be 13th. I could see them higher if Calvert-Lewin suddenly discovers how to play football again. But or Beto actually plays incredible or something like that. But I think 13th, not bad. It's pretty much where they would have been last season if they didn't have the points deduction. So I don't think they've not made enough signings and attacking areas for me to say they're going to shoot up the league. And it's understandable, so they don't have a whole lot of money. But I think they've made some really good improvements with Jake O'Brien for their defence. I think they'll be very solid this season.
Fair enough. 12th then, I have gone for Bournemouth. And I think, I've put Bournemouth here because for me, Iraola and the Bournemouth side, they play really good football. I think they're going to be the leaders in this charge of the lower half of the table. I am intrigued to see how it goes for Bournemouth with Dominic Solanke leaving, and it could be a tough season. We could see them lower down if no one else can replace his goal output. But I think Unal is a decent striker. They play really good football. For me, they're the best side out of the bottom lot. But equally, as I said, if they can't replace Solanke's goals, I could definitely see them being below the likes of Everton, being below the likes of Wolves. So they've got to be wary of that. But if they can play the same way they did last season, Unal can come in and score. Even if he scores half the goals that Solanke scored, it still should be enough. I'm expecting another decent season for the Cherries.
Yeah, fair enough. I've also got Wolves in 12th. I actually had them. I did a team like a little prediction a few weeks ago before any transfer had happened. So a couple months ago now, actually. And I had Bournemouth in 8th. But they've lost Solanke.
Yeah.
Whoever comes in, that's big shoes to fill. I think they will struggle for goals this season a little bit more. But anyway, interesting to see. I think they're a good side. So yeah, 12th, not bad. I think they'll have a good season. I really like Anthony Iraola. I think he's a top coach. But it's very difficult to replace a striker who scored, 18, 19 goals last season?
Yeah.
Very difficult to do that with the resources that Bournemouth have. So
yeah,
I think it's going to be an interesting season. 11th, what have you gone for?
Yeah, for me, this is where the table... I know this isn't halfway through the table, but for me, this is where the table takes a massive leap in quality. You have 12th down to the bottom, and then the top 11 for me are just a bit further clear than everyone else. 11th, I've gone for Brighton. I think this is simply because new management. I think Fabian Herzog is a very good manager, but I don't think it's going to work straight away. Now, Brighton, we know Brighton, they're good at showing patience, and I think eventually... if you give Herzog a bit of time, the tactic will come true. That's why I put them 11th, because I think first 5-10 games, they might be down in 15th, and it might look really poor for Brighton, but I think over the course of the season, they'll work their way back up, but I think the top 10 will just be too far out of reach at that point, so I'll put them 11th, but I think this is more of a building, this season's putting in the building blocks for Brighton, building Herzog's side and getting the team used to how he plays to push on in the next few seasons. So perhaps, I mean, it's one place higher than they finished last year, so technically it's a positive step. So
yeah, that's fair. I've got Brighton 11th as well, but for very different reasons. You picked them to start slow and come, really good towards the end of the season. I think it'd be the exact inverse. I think that Herzog's tactical principles are really interesting and really different. And he's going to come into the Premier League, and a lot of sides won't know how to handle that.
Yeah,
because there's going to be a lot of movement, a lot of fluidity, players dropping in and out of positions, the wide pressing traps as well, something we don't have a whole lot of in the Premier League. So I think it's really interesting to see what Brighton do in the early stages. I think though at Christmas time, I think they'll be top 4 at Christmas. That's my prediction. Brighton will be up in the Champions League spots come Christmas. Once they start picking up a few injuries though in key areas, and you've got players who don't know their roles fully, I think there will be. I think there will be some issues there. I think second half of the season they'll have a huge drop off, and I think they'll be 10th coming the final day, and the team below them might just push ahead of them. I think Brighton fans will be very annoyed by that. So we'll talk about that when we get in a second. But firstly, who is your 10th?
Yeah, I mean, our bottom half of the tables were very similar. I think we're going to have some changes in the top half. 10th, I've gone for Chelsea. Now, this hurts. As a Chelsea fan, you never want to predict your side to do badly. And... it has been such a tough few years for Chelsea. The manager merry-go-round continues with Enzo Maresca. I don't believe in Maresca. I'm reserving an opinion on what is going to happen for Chelsea over this season. But for me, I'm never going to be negative about your team's season, but I'm not positive about it. The transfers for me,
never negative, I'm not positive.
But the transfers for me, there's been too many, and there's been too many ones that I just don't agree with. They're either extortionate prices or they're 15 years old. I don't agree with Maresca. I think he's a decent manager, but I don't think he's very good.
It's just a constant oxymoron.
I really... Well, that's the problem. This is what I feel like Chelsea... So this is why I put Chelsea 10th, because I think it is just going to be very mediocre. I don't think it's going to be... Like last year was just some terrible results. This season, I think just Chelsea drew so mediocre. I put them 10th. I'm not expecting anything big.
I get what you're saying. I think that Chelsea will either have an incredible season or a truly awful one. I don't think there's any in between. There's no way it goes okay for Maresca. Either his tactic works and the team believe in it and it all works out and everything clicks and Chelsea are up there fighting for Champions League places, or I think it does all crumble apart. So I can see your logic there. I wouldn't be surprised if Chelsea were 10th at the start of the season and managed to climb up, because they have got they play City opening day. They've got a couple of tough fixtures. So, I wouldn't be surprised. So my 10th though, Crystal Palace. I think they'll be 11th final day and they'll climb ahead of Brighton. Now I know they say there's not a rivalry, but some fans say there are, some fans say there isn't. Either way, I think they'll be very pleased to be able to clown on Brighton. And obviously Palace climbing into top 10. It's a weird one for me. I think they could be a lot higher. I think losing Elise is a huge
Yeah.
loss for them. I was very tempted to put them 11th, Brighton 10th. That was a tough one for me. But yeah, I could see Palace lower without Elise. I don't think Sarr's a great signing, but and Gurhey could be a huge loss.
Yeah.
So they have got a lot of players leaving like that. But I do like signings like Daichi Cameron, and I think I think Glasner's a really top coach. So,
Yeah.
Yeah, I think they'll be all right in that regard, so that's why I've put them 10th.
Yeah, definitely on the same wavelength there. I've put Palace 9th. I just think, as you say, yes, they could lose some big players, but they've also made some good additions. And I think people have got to remember, Oliver Glasner is a European quality manager. He has managed in the big competitions on the biggest stage. He knows how to get a side up the table. 9th for Crystal Palace. I'm expecting a really strong year from Palace. They've kept hold of Eze so far. They could lose Gurhey, but Wacky Manderson's still there unless Fulham are going to keep putting in pathetic bids. The building blocks are still there for Palace, and they've made good additions on top of that. If Mateta can file, have a really good overall campaign rather than a brilliant couple months, I think that could be huge for Palace. But yeah, I'm expecting a big season for the Eagles.
Yeah, fair enough. 9th place. This is going to upset a few people, but I've gone Manchester United.
Wow, I was not expecting that. Wow.
I think this idea that they've had a fantastic transfer window is a huge myth. They've signed 4 players now, provided they get these Bayern Munich deals over the line, which still hasn't happened yet. And we're a few days away from the Premier League season now, so I doubt they'll be able to play the opener anyway, because obviously United play on Friday night. They might throw them into the action. Who knows? But I look at it and go, well, last season, Manchester United's expected performance had them close to 15th in the table. They relied on individuals, and again, I think they'll rely on individuals, and that's why I've not put them any lower than 9th. But what's changed in the United squad? Like, they've signed, like, everyone's going, oh, we're here, we're back, Dan Ashworth's done incredible. What's changed? They've signed Lenny Oro, who can't play until December because he's out injured. They've signed Joshua Zirkzee, who I don't think is going to adapt very well to the Premier League. I think he might come good by the end of the season, but I don't think he's going to adapt well. One season wonder at Bologna, it's not someone who's going to come in and play well in the Premier League, in my opinion. De Ligt has not handled the adapting from Ajax to Bayern, so what's going to say he's going to come in and do well for Ten Hag? I know he's played for Ten Hag before, but I guess we'll see. And then Mazraoui is someone who I think is a good attacking right back, but I've not seen enough from him in his career to suggest he's going to come in and be transformative. So what's changed for United this summer? They've got, they've still got Anthony in their squad, who I don't think does anything. They've got Jadon Sancho back, which I think could cause some issues again because there was tension there before. Is he going to come back and settle? Probably not. Are they still looking to shift him? Who knows what's going on there? I just think they're relying too heavily on players like Garnacho and Bruno, and if those don't come up with huge numbers this season, I don't see where the numbers do come from. They're still not signed a defence midfielder, so I think they still get opened up by any team with any quality. Of course, there's 3 weeks left of the window. If they go and sign a brilliant defence midfielder, then fair enough, but I don't see what's different for this United side. Unless Ten Hag has gone on a retreat all summer and he's now a tactical mastermind, like he did well in the FA Cup game. I think he coaches big games well. But United were terrible in the league last season. Nothing's changed. I think it's a myth they've had a good summer.
Well, this is going to get awkward later. We'll talk about that later. On to 8th, I have put Tottenham.
That's harsh.
I know.
No Europe.
No Europe, no. I don't know what it is about Tottenham. I think it's a really tough one. Yeah, what do I say about Tottenham? I don't really know what I've done here. They've made good signings. It has been a good window. I think Gray's a good signing. I think Solanke's a good signing. But for me, I just don't know. They seem to lack... Defensively, for me, I still worry about them. Van der Ven cannot play every single game. He's either going to pick up a terrible injury or they're going to have to drop him. And at that point, you wonder where the centre-halves come in. Romero is still a car crash. I just think defensively, for me, Tottenham aren't good enough. Solanke could score. I'm intrigued to see how that works because... The thing with Solanke is Solanke was the focal point at Bournemouth. Everything went to Solanke. But in a team where you've got players like Son and Maddison, and Johnson, or whoever you want to name, he is not going to be the focal point. Solanke will not be the focus. And that I'll be intrigued to see how many numbers he can put up when every ball isn't being played to him. I think Son's a very good player. Maddison, if he can stay fit, can do decently. I think they'll do well coming forward, but for me, Tottenham defensively are a little bit of a concern. We know it tailed off towards the end of last year. Once people had worked out Postecoglou, they were very easily beaten, and that is a big concern because one thing we know about Postecoglou is he's very stubborn, and that could be a huge problem because if he refuses to change, people already know how he plays. They're going to play them off the park. The reason I put Tottenham 8th is because I think they'll do brilliantly against everyone below them, but I don't think they'll take points off the big sides.
That's an interesting one. Yeah, for me, I think just on Tottenham quickly before I get into my 8th, I think they will score a lot of goals this season. I think they could even top the charts for goals scored. Yeah. I think they're also going to ship a lot, but that's not because they've got a bad defence. I think their defenders are incredible. You've got players like Mickey van der Ven, who I think is one of the best centre-halves in the league. You've got Udogie, you've got Porro, who are some of the best fullbacks. But the way they play is very aggressive, and as we saw last season, that can get opened up. So I think they'll be up there again in the goals, but I think they'll concede a lot as well.
How many times did Van der Ven's pace bail Tottenham out last year from conceding? Or Vicario.
Can they rely on that every week?
Exactly that. Because if Van der Ven has to keep making high-intensity sprints, 4 or 5 a game to stop goals, then he's going to get injured so quickly. And that is a big concern for Tottenham. And
then Romero gets suspended because he goes flying through someone, and then you end up with the back two of Davies and Dragasine.
Yeah.
Which is fun, but I don't think it's going to be
not fun for Tottenham.
No, very true. At my 8th place, I've gone West Ham. I think they've had a fantastic transfer window. Yeah. I think a lot of people now go, they're going to finish 5th in the league. I don't see that happening, but I think they'll be on the fringes of Europe, and if English sides do really well in Europe, then that 8th place could be Conference League football. So I think they'll be in the conversation for Europe. I definitely think they're better than Manchester United. I don't think Füllkrug is going to perform as well as people think he will. I still think that he is a good player, but he was okay in the Bundesliga for Borussia Dortmund, and I don't see how that translates to the Premier League. I don't think he'll put up a load of goals, but I think he will be quite good at bringing others into play. I think Kudus will have a great season. I think Bowen will have a great season. I think Paqueta will. Yeah. My fear is that if Paqueta does get banned for betting, then suddenly you lose a fantastic player in the middle of the park. Kudus has to come inside, Somerville goes out wide. Yes, it's okay, but you don't then have any rotation. And if any more injuries, and you put yourself in a really difficult position. So,
fair enough.
Yes, if West Ham... I mean, the difficulty with this is there's still 3 weeks left of the window. If they go and sign the link with Carlos Soler, if they go and sign him, that does mitigate some of my fears. I still think, though, if Füllkrug doesn't perform up front, those goals aren't... Yes, the goals will still come from Bowen, from Kudus, but I'm not sure... I still think as well that Julian Lopetegui isn't the best manager in the world.
Fair enough.
Yeah. And I'll be very interested to see how they do. But I still think 8th is a really good position for West Ham. They might still get Europe from there. And either way, it's going to be a huge step up and a building block for next year.
Yeah, well, the first sort of European place, 7th, I've gone Liverpool. I think it's going to be a tough year for Liverpool. I really do. I have doubts about Slot. Obviously, he's not on the level of a Jurgen Klopp, so there's that downgrade. I think it plays differently to Klopp as well, so that's an adjustment that needs to be made. I think, and really weird year for Liverpool. I find it hard to judge Liverpool. It was a really weird year last year. Klopp announced he was leaving, which for me has never worked. When a manager said they're leaving, it has never paid off, and it usually goes wrong. And there were talks of winning the quadruple, doing all this in his last year, and they only got a Carabao Cup. Now, obviously, I think most of the reason was most of it was just the Klopp bandwagon. Everyone wanted to do it but I think Slot, it's going to take time to adjust to. I think they're going to struggle to start with. They might claw it back towards the season. I don't know. But for me, they're going to start slow, and then they'll be too far off the top 6 to break into it. So 7th for Liverpool. They've still got some decent players, but I think it's going to be a patient season for Liverpool fans. They've got to be patient.
Yeah, fair enough. I think they'll start slow because it's going to take time to adapt to the way Slot plays. Very different, but I don't think they'll be that low. 7th place, I've got Tottenham. I wanted to put them higher. I really did. I think they're a really good team, but I think they've shipped too many goals, and the sides ahead of them are probably better than them right now. So I think it'd be really interesting. If Liverpool don't find that performance, I could easily see Tottenham being the benefactors of that and being able to push forwards. I still don't know on some of the other sides, but I guess we'll see. It's very difficult with these because obviously sides can look very different to how they did last season. Like Aston Villa, for example, one of the ones where I just don't know how they're going to look this season. So yeah, it's really interesting to see. So yeah, 7th I've got Tottenham. Who have you got in 6th?
6th then, I'm jumping on the West Ham bandwagon. 6th is going to be West Ham. I might be being blinded by their window, but who knows? I think they've made some brilliant signings. Defensively, to bring in Todibo is a brilliant signing. That shores you up at the back so much. I think in forward areas, players like Somerville, they're really good additions. You're bringing him into an attack that is already, got players like Bowen and Kudus in it. I'm really looking forward to seeing the West Ham side play football. I think they're going to improve quite largely. Lopetegui isn't the best manager, but with a good set of players, he is still a decent coach. And I think they will get European football, which is massive because we know how good Lopetegui is in Europe. 6th for West Ham.
Yeah, fair enough. 6th place, I've gone for Aston Villa. I think that a lot of Villa fans have been on about this. I was tempted to put them 7th, maybe even lower than that. I think that last season, Ollie Watkins scored. He registered, obviously, a lot of assists, a lot of goals. Fantastic stuff. But his assists, I think he got 11 in the end.
Yeah.
And that came from 2 expected assists. That's not going to keep up. That's just not going to stay the same. So, yes, he did really well last season to get as many assists as he did, and obviously score as many goals as he did. And I still think he'll score a lot of goals. I just don't think he's going to have the same number of assists because I don't think the players around him will score as many goals. I think they're going to underestimate just how big a loss Douglas Luiz is. Yeah. I don't think Borena Chair is someone who, comes in and does anything huge. I think Onana's a good player, but again, does he come in and replace Douglas Luiz sufficiently? Perhaps not. I'm not sure. So yeah, I think it's really interesting. I think that they played very well last season, but teams are going to figure out Emery eventually. The managers are going to start to figure him out. I think that'll happen this season in the Premier League. He's never been known, Emery, for his success in the league. I think they'll have a really deep Champions League run, but I could see them slipping in the table. I was very tempted to switch them and Tottenham. Yeah. But for Aston Villa 6th.
Fair enough. Into the top 5 then, and I have gone Newcastle in 5th. I think this is going to be a bounce back season for the Geordies. I think last year was quite tough. They were. They gave Europe a very good go. They slipped down the league slightly. But for me, they are still a very good team. Eddie Howe is one of the best managers in the Premier League. I think he's a top coach alongside Jason Tindall. I think, if the players can stay fit, they've got a really, really strong squad. And I'm really looking forward to seeing Newcastle this season. I hope they can bounce back to where they were the season before last in that top 4. I don't think they'll quite be in the Champions League, although 5th could be Champions League football. We don't know yet. So 5th place for Newcastle, a much improved season on last season.
Yeah, fair enough. 5th place, I have gone for Chelsea. I think this is going to have a lot of people questioning my sanity. But I think you look at the success that Guardiola and Arteta's football's had, and I think similarly to Arteta in his first season, it might be a little bit slow to start. I think City on the opening day could be a very difficult watch for Chelsea fans. But they do have a good run of fixtures after that for Maresca's side to adapt to the league well and for him to understand who he wants to start before they start playing some really difficult matches. I think after City, they've got a nice run of a few matches that are games they should win. And I'm positive for things under Maresca. I think that yes, the recruitment can be a bit weird at times, but Palmer's gone nowhere. If Jackson's movement, timing, his runs, they're world-class stuff. There's world-class elements to this game. If he can work on composure and put some of these chances away, Chelsea will score a whole lot more goals. So I think that, yes, they'll be more defensively frail under Maresca than they were under Pochettino. But I think they will score more goals as well. I think with Nkunku back in the side, that's a really nice change. I think Pedro Neto, as much as I don't agree with the price tag and I do worry about his fitness, at least there are 8 other wingers who can play if he is injured. So,
hooray!
I do like Chelsea's attack this season. I think tactically the team suits what Maresca wants to do. If it gels, it'll gel really nicely. I think they'll be able to do really well. I think it'll be interesting to see how they get on this season. But so I've got Chelsea 5th. I get why people might disagree with that, but that's my prediction. 4th. What are you going for, Harry?
Top 4 then, and I've got Aston Villa. I think it'll be back-to-back top 4s for the Villains. I was very impressed with their season under Unai Emery last campaign. I think players like Watkins were absolutely brilliant, and the signings have been really strong as well. I think not only the deals that they've bought in this summer, but players like Morgan Rogers, he's looked phenomenal in pre-season. If he can bring that form into the league with more minutes under his belt, he could be a really, really strong player. So yeah, I think Villa, they're going to remain where they were. We saw that's hard to do. Newcastle couldn't manage it, but I think Unai Emery, he's managed in Europe before, unlike Eddie Howe. I think Emery will be more used to how to work it out. The squad is a bit bigger, and obviously Villa, if they stay fit as well, they've got that. Newcastle got so many injuries, they were struggling for squad depth. Emery has got a lovely balance of squad depth now at Villa. Yes, they've lost players like Douglas Luiz, but I think they'll manage with that. Watkins can put up incredible numbers like he did last year. I think it's been another good season for Aston Villa.
Yeah, fair enough. I think that's a valid take. I think Villa will slip off, but maybe we'll see otherwise. 4th place, I've gone Liverpool. I do think that there'll be some teething issues with Slot because there is a difference in tactics. And as I mentioned earlier when talking about Ipswich, I wouldn't be surprised if they managed to slip up and then everyone's questioning, going, Arne Slot's a fraud, all this. And I do think there are some valid doubts because we've not seen managers come over to the Premier League and perform well from the Eredivisie. Erik Ten Hag, for example. But I rate Arne Slot. I think he's inheriting a really good side. I think it's going to work eventually. I think it'll be a slow start. I wouldn't be surprised if they had some difficult games. I think they could get knocked out of Europe early and there will be some disappointment around that. But I think overall they'll bounce back at the end and be fairly competitive. I think they'll get Champions League in 4th place, especially if they are dumped out of Europe early and other teams around them do have like European quarterfinals, European semi-finals, all that sort of stuff. That is going to be extra games. I think Liverpool might get knocked out in that knockout playoff round.
Yeah, fair enough.
And then we'll see where they go from there. But maybe they'll do incredibly. Maybe Slot will ease in, and then I think they'll stay 3rd. At some points this summer, I was thinking Slot would be lower. I think Liverpool would be like 6th, 7th. But I don't know. I don't know why, because they've not made any moves in the transfer market. But I've been convinced by Arne Slot. So yeah, I think they finished top 4.
Okay.
3rd place.
Yeah, up at Manchester United.
Big difference in opinion there.
Yeah. I don't know. I think I've been transfixed by Ten Hag.
Dan Ashworth's convinced you.
Yeah, I think ending on a high last season, winning the FA Cup was a big sign, and I think even the Community Shield game, yes, it was very dull, and yes, they lost it, and yes, it was pointless. But the fact that they've proven they can, what Ten Hag has proven is that United have gone from shipping 6 against City to beating City and going toe-to-toe. They went from getting battered by City, battered by Liverpool, to beating Liverpool, beating City, going toe-to-toe, not only on the scoreline, but actually on the pitch with the likes of City, Arsenal, Liverpool. And I think that's a big step in the right direction. The problem for Man United last year was not just that, but it was also the points against the little sides. Now, I think they've got the players now to avoid those stupid results. Anthony, watch out for him. Hear him in the media, he is fired up and ready to go. Same with Onana. Now, I don't believe any of that. That is just PR rubbish. They're saying that because they're trying to, I don't know.
I think Onana did well last season, to be fair.
And that's my big thing about
high-profile errors at the start of the season.
But if he cuts those errors out, this is where my point was going, where if he cuts those errors out, they don't drop points to the little sides. Because they don't lose those games because Onana's passed Chris Wood the ball or given it to Anthony Elanga. I think United, if they can cut out the errors, could have a strong campaign. And the reason I put them 3rd above other teams is because I think they're going to be really good at taking points off the big sides.
Fair enough. I think that's going to be interesting to see. I don't agree at all, but that's the point of predictions, isn't it? Yeah. We're not going to agree.
It's a punt.
I think United's look awful. I think that Ten Hag coaches big games really well, but I don't think it transpires to league form. I think, I guess we'll see what happens.
I don't think United fans are going to agree with me, but there you go.
Who knows? 3rd in the league, I've gone for Newcastle. Now, I think a lot of people will disagree with this, but they've got no Europe this season. They've got no injuries yet. I think that they've not done a whole lot in the transfer market just yet, but I think Lloyd Kelly's a really nice addition. I think if they do sign Mark Guehi, that's really nice. If they're still looking at a winger, if they brought in someone like Noni Madueke to play on that right-hand side, brilliant. I think Isak's going to have an even better season than they did last season. I think Gordon will be one of the best players in the league this year. It's all looking good for Newcastle. I look across their squad. Livramento coming in for Trippier right back. That seems to be an upgrade for me. Lewis Hall coming in at left back. They've got a really exciting young team, and I think they'll take the league by storm this year. The fact that they don't have European football to contend with either should mean they have less injuries this season. I think they'll want to make a run at one of the cups to try and get a trophy for the first time in 70 years. So, I think this Newcastle side looks really good on... but major trophy.
Yeah.
I think this Newcastle side look really good, and I'm excited to see them play. And again, I think without European football to distract them, to fatigue them, they'll be able to pick up consistent wins and they won't have many injuries going into the back half of the season or that Christmas period, so I think they'll be able to take advantage of that. And I think, I think they'll be right up there, 3rd place in the league, Champions League football again for the Geordies.
Lovely. Champions then.
Yes, top 2. Are we going second, or are we going to go top?
We'll do them at the same time, because
I think we should do second first.
Okay, I've gone Arsenal. It's not a slight on Arsenal. They're a bloody good football team, but it's not their fault. Man City are better.
Yeah, I could see Arsenal winning this league. I really could. But I don't know. I just don't think they will. I've gone to Arsenal in second as well. I'm not sure how they would, because what they've done this summer is Calafiori, good signing. Does he take them ahead of Man City? No. And then they might sign Mikel Merino.
Yeah.
For me, that doesn't bridge the gap. That doesn't bring them right up to Man City.
My question with it is, they're gonna draw against each other. Both sides will draw, and it'll be they're not gonna take points off each other. Then it will come down to how they fare against the other 18 teams. Now, Man City, Arsenal are more likely to drop points at other sides than Man City are. That's a fact. Man City are a better football team. They're a better quality side. So for me, that's why they'll always win the league. Because Arsenal will never beat Man City, because they play exactly the same way, and every time they play against City, they play for the point. You're not going to win the league if you play for a point against your title challengers.
Yeah.
So for me, it'll always be City-Arsenal until that is changed.
Yeah, potentially. I think it's going to be really interesting to see. Yeah, my champions, Manchester City.
They're bloody good, aren't they?
They are. They are really good at football, it turns out.
Yeah.
Surprise. I think they'll go back to back.
Yeah.
And then Guardiola will leave.
Thank God for that. I can't wait.
Yeah, well, he might not. He might just sign a renewal.
That would be very disappointing.
He's been tight-lipped about that this summer. Sometimes we're going, well, I might not be here next season. Sometimes we're going, well, I might sign a renewal to 2028 and ruin everyone's fun again.
That would be sad.
I think we might. This season might be City's last title win for at least a year, which might be nice.
It should be close. Like last year, I think it'll be close. I think we'll go down to the final day, something like that. But City will take it because it's inevitable. They are Man City. They are winners. Winners win.
Yeah, very true. Well, that is our full tale predictions, but we've got a few more fun little predictions that you guys can also get involved with. So obviously we want to see your full tables in the comment section, but also get involved with these ones. So first up, we've got Golden Boot. Harry, who's taking it?
I've got Alexander Isak.
Hang on, why did you put Newcastle?
5th.
Oh, fair enough.
I think he's going to be part of their charge. He's going to be the reason they're so high at the table. It's not a slight on Haaland. Haaland probably still scored 23. And the same names will be up there. I think Isak's got a really good year.
Yeah, I'm not an idiot. Haaland's going to score 30 goals to take the Golden Boot again.
That is fair.
I think Isak will have a good season. I don't think he's going to have a Haaland-esque season, though. Provided he stays fit, Haaland's always going to score goals, and I think this season will be no different. I wouldn't be surprised, though, if he left City at the end of the year. I think that's something that could happen.
That would be fun.
Vinicius Junior's been linked with Saudi Arabia. If we know that Mbappe likes playing on the left-hand side and Haaland through the middle, maybe that could happen for Real Madrid. I think that's the only place he does go. Where else can afford him? Certainly not Barcelona.
Rochdale.
So, and he's not going to move domestically. So unless he's going to PSG, I don't see who could afford him.
Yeah.
I think he's going to win the Golden Boot and then potentially leave City.
Yeah.
Top assisters then.
I have gone Martin Odegaard. He was 3rd last year. I think he's going to up his game. I think, Arsenal are going to have another really good season. He's going to top it for me.
Yeah, fair enough. I consider a few options here. I think if Pedro Neto stays fit for Chelsea, he could be up there. My problem is I don't think he will stay fit all season. But he put up 9 assists in 20 appearances at Wolves last season. If Nicholas Jackson and Palmer take their chances, Neto could be incredible. But no, instead I went for Brennan Johnson. I think despite Tottenham being kind of low in the league, as I say, they will score a lot of goals. I think he had a really good year last year, and I think with him probably starting on that right-hand side now, Kulusevski moving into an attacking midfield role, they haven't signed another right winger yet, so he's going to play 38 Premier League games at the moment. I think he'll have a really good chance to get a lot of football under his belt, get a load of assists. Yeah. And I think Tottenham are going to score a lot of goals.
Fair enough. Player of the season then. I've gone Martin Odegaard. I think the assists will directly translate to the player of the season award. The fact that Isak's winning Golden Boot, but he's going to be 5th, says to me this is going to be a clear win for Odegaard. I think he's going to be the best player in the Prem this season.
Yeah, that's fair. I've gone Rodri because Man City are going to win the league.
Yeah, that's
again,
cool. That is cool.
He is going to be the reason because he's incredible and Man City are incredible. Player of the season awards tend to go to the league
Champions,
winners.
Yeah.
But young player of the season.
Now, this award is stupid because I think couldn't Bukayo Saka still win it because he's like 22.
I think so.
The age needs to be reduced because the young players are too good at the moment. I've gone Yeremy Doku. I think this one will go the way of the champions simply because he is a very good player and I think he's going to have an incredible season.
Yeah, fair enough, Jeremy Doku. I've gone Milos Kerkez because I fancied a really rogue shout. I think he could have a really good year. I was tempted to put Kobe Mainoo. Well, I wasn't tempted. I originally put Kobe Mainoo because I thought he's going to fit okay, and obviously the media just love him. So I could see that happening. But I've gone Milos Kerkez because I fancy something a bit different. I think he'll have a really good season at Bournemouth. And yeah, I think he'll have a bit of a breakout season. I was tempted to put him top assists because I think he will get a lot of assists this season, even without Solanke there. They are now targeting other strikers. So, yeah, I think that's going to do well. I've put Milos Kerkez in there. It's a bit of a rogue shout. It'll probably be Kobe Mainoo. I've gone Kerkez though.
Fair enough.
Best signing. Now, obviously, these are a bit less quantifiable, but we can come to the end of the season and make our own verdict on these. If you've gone for.
I mean, we put a poll out on the community page, so go get involved in that if you haven't already. And I've been convinced by the several West Ham fans who put Jean-Claire Todibo. I think he's a quality centre-half. I think he's going to be the reason that West Ham rise up the league back into European places. I think there's a good conversation to have here with a few other signings, but for me, Todibo takes it.
Yeah, I've gone Jake O'Brien.
Yeah,
I think
spot on.
it's a... Okay, well, you've changed it.
No. In terms of, I think that's a very good shout.
I think he'll have a really good season. I think £20 million is a fantastic price. I think Everton will keep the most clean sheets this season because they're just going to draw every game 0-0 and stay up by that. Yeah. I think, O'Brien and Branthwaite complement each other really nicely. It's going to be a great signing. 20 million seems like a bargain for him. Good deal. Then worst signing, even more unquantifiable.
Now, this directly contrasts to me putting Man United third. I've gone Joshua Zirkzee.
Covering all your bases there.
Yeah, I am covering all that because obviously Højlund's injured, so Zirkzee's going to have to start the season.
Bruno could play up front.
Exactly, and that's what I think is going to happen. But that is why Zirkzee, for me, is going to be touted as worst signing. I think he's going to have to play. He'll play the first few games, not be very good. Bruno will then come in until Højlund's fit again. But for me, that'll be Zirkzee's barely any minutes. The only consistent starting minutes he'll get will be those first 4 or 5 games, say, and then I think he'll be dropped and we're not going to see him much. And that is why I think Pitt will label him worst signing. Without seeing him, he's unproven in the Prem. I think he's going to struggle. I don't think he's going to do well.
Fair enough. I was tempted by Zirkzee. I was tempted by Lenny Yoro because he's going to miss the first 3 months of the season. I wouldn't be surprised if the same thing happens to him that happens to all these Man United players where there's loads of talent, loads of potential, and then that just disappears 100%. And he gets injured all year. Yeah. I wouldn't be surprised if he didn't play a minute this year, but I haven't said that because I want to be optimistic for him. I had a few ideas in mind. I could have gone for any of Chelsea's 100 signings. Yeah. Instead, though, I've gone for Ismail Sarr, which I think a lot of people will be like, well, that's a bit harsh because he's coming into a Palace side that's set up well.
Yeah.
However, he's not going to fill the same role that Elise did.
No.
And so I'm not really sure how he fits in with Glasgow. I don't think he's going to have a good campaign, though. I think he'll really struggle. I think he was good when he was in the Prem before. Not sure he will be now. I guess we'll see though. Again, there is a lot of options for this. This one feels a bit harsh, but I don't think he's going to do well.
Fair enough.
So put him in there. Most improved. These are players that were in the Premier League last season and we think will have a huge improvement, will suddenly be incredible. Who have you gone for?
This was a tough one for me. I nearly put Morgan Rogers, and I think he is going to have a really good season, so he's definitely one to look out for, but I've gone for Emile Smith-Rowe. Now, I know it's a bit of a weird one, because technically he has just joined Fulham, so it's a bit hard to improve, and he didn't play last season, so he's kind of improving on nothing. But in terms
of... Smashed it already.
He has smashed it, exactly. He's most improved by a country mile. But no, in terms of we know how good he is, we know he shouldn't be sitting on the bench. Starting in a side like Fulham, I think he's going to excel massively and we're going to see him back to his best. That's what I'm kind of going for here. I'm not saying he's going to improve rapidly on bench minutes. I just think he's going to improve on terms of we know how good he is and he is going to prove that.
Yeah, fair enough. I almost had Oscar Bob down for this because I think he will have an incredible season. Yeah. He'll have a real huge breakout campaign. But I opted against it. I almost put him down for Young Player of the Season as well, actually, which I think is more likely than Kerkez, but I wanted to put someone rogue there. Most improved, though, I've gone Brennan Johnson. I think that he'll have a really solid season.
Fair enough.
As I said earlier, with the assists, I think he's going to have a really good campaign. He was good already last year. I think he's going to raise that level again and, have a really good season at Tottenham.
Fair enough.
Biggest flop then, players that were in the league last season that did okay or not and they're going to get even worse.
Yes. I've gone Darwin Núñez. Now Pitt will go, how can he flop again because he's always a flop, he's been rubbish. Actually look at his numbers. 19 goal contributions in 22 starts, 11 goals in 22 starts. That's a goal every other game, which isn't too bad for a striker. I think he's going to do worse than that, which... I think to be honest, I think that many goals, 19 in 22, is not too bad.
Yeah,
goal contributions in 22 games. But I think he's got a worse season. I don't think he's going to score many goals at all. I think he will be the one who catches all the flack. Not the what do you call it? Catches all the. Is it flack?
Yeah, flack works.
Yeah, catches all the flack in a Liverpool side that drop off, and I think he's going to be the one that gets the biggest criticism.
Yeah, I think that's fair. I've gone Rasmus Højlund because I think United are going to be crap, and I think he's going to be a bit. He's out for the first month of the season, 2 months of the season.
Good stuff.
I think he just didn't adapt well last season. I don't think he's going to adapt well this year. Did he? He didn't score for the first 9 matches.
I thought he got himself. Did he not get in double digits in the end?
Don't think so.
Let's have a look.
You can have a quick look, but he didn't score for like the first 10 games, 9 games of the Premier League season that he played, and then just no one mentioned that at all.
Yeah.
How many goals did he put up last season then?
Well, I had him in my FPL team, so this is why I thought he did quite well. He
probably not if it's in your
scored
FPL
10.
team.
He did get in double digits.
10 in 30 matches, 25 starts. That's just not good enough.
No.
I think he'll drop off again this season. I wouldn't be surprised if we see just Bruno playing up front.
Yeah.
And they've been off their 2 strikers that cost a combined £100 million.
Sat on the bench together. One's the worst signing, one's the biggest flop.
Yeah, I'm absolutely just loving it. But yeah, I think it's going to be another tough season for Højlund. It'll be interesting to see. I think United will be. I don't think they'll be very good.
Fair enough.
That's why I put him down there. But I guess we will see. So that is our predictions. I'm sure there will be a lot of comments on this below that are either very pleased or very displeased with where we've put their side. Feel free to get involved in the comments. It's a prediction at the end of the day. It's going to be a guess.
Have your say.
You guys are welcome to have your say as well. There's always going to be some bias involved as well, unless you're Harry, in which case you just plummet Chelsea down the table to appear non-biased. Very true. But yes, I hope you have enjoyed today's video, even if you disagree with some of our predictions. So do get involved in the comments below. If you have enjoyed this and want to see more of our content, we've just previewed every single Premier League side going into 24-25 season. So go back and check out all of them. It'll only take you a whole day to watch it all. So go back and sit through that today. And we will be back next week with even more Premier League content as the season starts this weekend. I'm very excited. We might have a video out on Friday if we come up with an idea, so look out for that. But other than that, thank you guys very, very much for watching, and we'll see you next time.
See ya.